Morning everybody, welcome back. Saturday morning shop day here, and decided we're gonna work on buttoning up the Shadow drag bike a little bit. There's a few more things on it than I thought needing to be done once I started really going through everything, and a couple cool things I want to share. We need to make the tail light, so that's a pretty cool deal. We use LED panels, and then we have to wire them with a resistor to make them into a dual filament setup. So I thought that was something some people may be interested in seeing. So we'll do that. We'll make the tail light. We got to make the base, mount the LED panels, wire all that up. Got to make some spark plug wires. We got to make our shift rod. We got to make our brake stay for our rear brake caliper. Trying to think what else. Oh, I need to rebuild the slave cylinder for the hydraulic clutch conversion. We need to measure for all of our hydraulic lines, so our hydraulic clutch and our brake line. We got to measure for all those. Get those. Well, measuring is not really as important. We got to figure out what kind of banjos we need, like either straight, 90, 45, whatever. So we'll make a list up of all the banjos we need so we can get those ordered. Then we'll make the lines on the bike like we traditionally do. So those will be the length, made to length on the bike. And I don't know, that may start to get us close. But we do need to machine a plug for where the old clutch arm went in the clutch cover. And I think the clutch cover is just temporarily on. I don't know if we ever got a clutch cover gasket, so I'll check that out and figure out if we need a clutch cover gasket. And we do need to, once we get the slave cylinder rebuilt, we need to measure and machine a clutch pusher, because obviously it's going to be different than the stock one since we did the quick access cover and the hydraulic conversion. So anyway, quite a few things to do. I mean, they're all little kind of quick things for the most part, but a bunch of stuff there. So really should probably make up a little punch list so we can check stuff off as we go. Alright, so I was sorting out all our parts, and we still need to put our thermostat in, so I'm going to go ahead and do that before we get sidetracked and miss that. Alright, so got our thermostat in. The single-use crimp clamp didn't want to go over the nipple of the radiator real easily, so I decided I'm not going to use that. I'll use a regular screw type clamp on there in case we need to get back in here at any time. It'll allow one part to come off where we don't have to break all these clamps loose. May save us a little aggravation at some point. Alright, so we got our slave cylinder here. Our slave cylinder piston, which you can see goes in there. I'm going to run out and give this a quick polish on the buffer, and then we'll put the new rubbers on and reassemble that. Alright, so we gave that piston a quick polish just to clean it up as best we could. Give it a nice smooth surface to slide on inside the bore. This is an old Honda slave cylinder. I think they're from VFR's, early 80s. I just like them with the fins. They look cool. These rebuild kits are real simple. Comes with a new spring, a new main rubber, which you just want to make sure you put on in the correct direction. Then a new little center seal, which I don't know what that really does, honestly, except hold the pusher, but whatever. And then it comes with a new bleed nipple cap, so we'll put that on so we got a fresh one. And then you just slide your piston back in here, tuck in the rubber in so you don't tear it or crush it. You could use like a popsicle stick or whatever. I just use my fingernail. Don't use a screwdriver. They're too sharp and likely to catch your rubber and tear it. So something non-marring, piece of plastic, whatever, you know. I think you get the idea. There we go. One rebuilt slave cylinder. Alright, so next up on our list of small things to finish is our shift linkage. So this is obviously all custom rear sets and what have you. So now we need to make a bar that's going to connect the actual shifter stub, which obviously this material is too thin, but you get the idea. Maybe not, I don't know. That's probably too weak. We'll go to 1/2 inch. But so we need to get a length. Now obviously this is threaded and we have jam nuts, so we do have some leeway in, you know, it'll be adjustable. I'm really not liking how this actually looks. Like, this is a pedal I bought from another bike, and now that I'm looking at it, this linkage is going to hit the actual pedal, so that's not really ideal. So what are we going to do with that there? We really need to move this inside, and then it'll be closer in and clear everything. So I guess we're going to pop this off. We'll pop this shifter off and see if we can remove this ball swivel and flip it to the inside. This is a lot of the stuff. People always wonder why these bikes take so long to make. You know, it seems like everything takes forever, blah, 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 blah. Well, when the bike seems finished, there's lots of little detail stuff, especially when you're doing this many custom pieces. When you do this many custom pieces, there's just lots of detail stuff that you don't catch on the initial mock-up because, like, we obviously didn't complete this. Now, we could have completed this during mock-up and the final assembly would have gone a little quicker, but at the end of the day, the time is still the same time. We mocked it up. We had everything, you know, basically ready to go, and then when we go to do the finish, we run into this little glitch. No big deal. We'll correct it now and keep on moving. So, looks like this thing is just staked in this hole, so I'm going to run out back, grind this off, and see if we can knock it out and flip it around. Alright, so we got our rod end swivel flipped around to the inside. So now we'll have a nice clean shot to make our shift rod, which I think we're going to want about like so. So we'll measure in between these two rods. Looks like the max length is about 9 inches. And 9 1/4. So what we'll probably do is make it 8 3/4, so that we have a little bit of in and out play to adjust. And once we get the bike actually running, there's a possibility I'll have to go back and make a new rod, depending on how my foot lands and stuff like that. You don't always nail it the first time, but that should give us real close to where we want to be at 8 3/4 inches long. And I had originally planned on making it out of some 3/8 round aluminum, but I just don't think that's going to give us enough strength on this end. We'll make it out of some 1/2-inch aluminum, and maybe I'll turn it down a little decorative or something so it has a decent look to it. So we will take our dimensions, jump out on the lathe, and machine up a shift rod. So we got our round bar in the lathe here. Going to go ahead and face off both ends. Now that we've got our ends faced off, we can go ahead and center drill both of those ends. The center drill gives guidance for our regular twist drill, which we'll use to drill our holes required for tapping. In this particular part, we got a 6mm hole on one end and an 8mm hole on the other end. So we'll go ahead and center drill both and then switch out to the appropriate twist drills in order to make our bores to be tapped. Now that we're center drilled, we're going to use our number 9 twist drill, which is the appropriate drill for our 6mm by 1.0 tap. Once we get this finished, we'll go ahead and flip it over and drill for our 8mm hole, which is a letter H drill. Last operation we have to do here is our power tapping. You might notice the chuck is spinning what you may consider backwards. These are left-handed threads on both ends of this. That's how the threads were on the parts that we're using that were pre-made. The shift linkage parts came with left-hand threads, so rather than modifying all that, we're just making these parts with the matching left-hand thread. In this particular case, a 6mm on this side and an 8mm on the other. Alright, nice little simple project. 2 drilled and tapped left-hand thread, 8mm on one side, 6mm on the other. I'm going to head back in and assemble this shift linkage. Alrighty, so back in here at the bike, going to get this linkage assembled. Oh, good morning.
Am I late?
I don't know. I don't even know what time it is. Alright, so this is our taillight base plate. I'm going to go ahead and get this lined up on the back here. Mark our holes so we can drill and install this. Alright, so we drilled our holes. We're going to install our riv nuts. If you haven't used riv nuts before, it's like a pop rivet, but instead of joining something together, it's a threaded insert that goes into a part. Really handy tool. They sell riv nut kits really cheap on Amazon. I think they sell them at Harbor Freight. Super useful tool. So if you don't have some and you like building stuff, pick yourself up a kit. You'll be amazed how good they are for stuff. Alright, so we got our backing plate mounted. Next thing we got to do is mount our LEDs and then look at wiring them up. So whenever I make tail lights, I use a lot of these LED panels. They're actually like a replacement dome light panel for cars. They come with all these little adapters, but I find they work really good for tail lights. Double-sided tape on them already, just makes them real handy and easy to use. So because we're going to wire these together, I'll put them both with the wires facing inward and just try and center them up on the backing plate, because we do not have a ton of extra room inside of our tail light housing. So we'll make sure that that goes on good still. So now we'll get a hole drilled through the backing plate, through the aluminum, so we can run our wires up into our electrical tray where we wired everything else on the bike. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and start soldering up our wires. We tied obviously our two blacks together, which are grounds, and then our two positives. Then we have our resistor here. So what this does is it steps the voltage down and it will dim the LEDs to make our running light circuit. And then our second filament. So by doing this, let me zoom in here so you guys can kind of see what I'm talking about a little better. So we have our resistor. Our running light wire will go to this side of the resistor. Our brake light wire will bypass the resistor, giving the full 12 volts. And that's how you get your two filament wiring out of a single filament or single circuit LED array. So now we got to make a wiring pigtail. Zoom back out. Buy this nice insulated. This is a, I think, 6 filament or 6 circuit, so it's got 6 wires in it. Obviously we're only going to use 3, but that's no big deal. I just am out of 3. We got red, black, and green. I'll snip these other ones off. Yeah.
My ex-wife, fiance, or whatever, around this.
Got brake lights?
Yeah. Yep.
Said, wow, I want to pass on that for now, but as long as you conclude that their present condition is not a risk hazard.
I mean,
that's not something we can tell you.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll get it all fixed up for you.
Alrighty, so we got our taillight mounted, screwed into place, test wired. I don't have a 3-circuit electrical socket, so I'm going to order a weather pack plug, and we'll do that final wiring. But that leaves just about all the wiring done except for the brake light switch, which we got to hook up once we get our banjo fittings. Alright, so next thing on our little punch list is we got our brake stay. So we just need to get a length for this. Obviously this isn't like super critical, as it, you know, the caliper could sit like this or like this or like this. It really doesn't matter. I try and just let them hang down kind of where gravity wants, and then take it from there. So going to be about 6 1/4, 6.5 inches, something like that. And then we'll have to just put a little offset bend in it because this is inset versus the width of the swing arm. I'm looking at how I designed this, which was not real smart. I should have dropped this tab a little lower because the bolt could interfere with the brake rotor. But I think what we'll do is pop this off of here. I'll countersink the back of this, and we'll use a flathead screw and a nut on the outside, so won't be a huge big deal. I think I got 3/8 bolts in here. Yep. So we'll hop out on the plasma table, draw something out, cut it up real quick, and come back and install it. Alright guys, I think that's going to do it for today. We've got everything done that we can. Just going to quickly figure out our banjo fittings. Looks like we're going to need mostly straights. I'm going to need a straight one for the clutch cover, straight for back here. We'll do a 70° on the brake master cylinder. The 2 fronts I got to hop up there and look at in the front brake. And we'll get those ordered. I got our 3-wire connector ordered. I got our clutch cover gasket ordered. We're really nearing the end on this thing. I still have a box of missing parts for this bike that has our fuel petcock in it. It's a very expensive dual outlet Pingle Guzzler petcock, and I refuse to buy another one. I've already rebought everything else that's in this box. It also has a bunch of Zeus fasteners in it, which I'm still missing a couple of Zeus fasteners to install the bodywork, and I'm just super aggravated by the whole thing, so I'm not going to rebuy them unless I just absolutely finish 100% of the rest of the bike, and then still can't find it. I guess I'll have to at some point bite the bullet. But I'm trying not to. The only other thing I got to do is get a real short braided brake line to reinstall our shock reservoir, and then we'll make a mount for that. I got to dig through. I probably have a little short line. I just got to look through all my stuff and find it. But anyway, this thing is really, really nearing completion. Hopefully maybe next weekend we will get to take it down off the lift and roll it outside and see how it really looks. So As always, thank you guys for being here. Hope you're enjoying following our builds. And we hope to see you next time at Gatti's Garage.